Hello, everybody, and welcome to yet another Monday. Can you believe that the weekend is over already? They just don't last very long, do they? So, we are here today talking about Epic Collections, and boy, there has been a lot of news lately. Not just with Epic Collections, but with DC Finest too, because we're starting to see the website, the Penguin Random House website, get updated, and we're seeing new lines starting like Dead Man and the Joker, and follow-up volumes for Wonder Woman and Batman and Green Arrow. Pretty exciting stuff. They're just pumping these out, and it's kind of hard to keep up reading them all, but we're all doing our best, aren't we? Here we are. We have Ryan. Nice to see you, Ryan Bragg, and Phil Owens. Nice to see you too. Batman's here as usual. Reading anything interesting lately? Oh, working through the Shade Omnibus. Shade the Changing Man? Is that the Peter Milligan stuff? I've never read that, but I'm a big Chris Pacello fan, and I would like to dive into that at some point. Maybe if it gets a DC Finest. Do you think it'll ever get a DC Finest? You're reading Amazing Spider-Man Epic 7. That's a good one. Really good one. Yeah, that's some of Spidey's best stuff right in there. Who else is here? Let's see. Rascal Wolf, Pope Romero, and Saturday Morning Fan, and Kryptonite Kid. Welcome, everybody. It's good to talk to you. I don't have much to talk about today. I only have one book that I'm going to be opening up, and because I've halted kind of all of my other orders because I'm going to be going away this week, and I don't want anything to show up on my doorstep and just sit there and who knows what happens to it. So I'm going to I only have one package to open up here today. We're going to talk about that for a little bit, but let's see here. Milligan's Shade, The Changing Man, highly recommended. That's very cool. Peter Milligan is quite an interesting writer. He does some really bizarre stuff, so that's very, very cool. Um, just finished Rom Volume 1. That's great. How did you like it, Saturday Morning Fan? What else is everybody reading? I would love to know what everyone is reading. Love the Al shirt. Yeah, there you go. It's based on the animated series. I just did an iron on myself, and now it's all kind of coming apart. But there you go. This I found out just recently that this particular picture was drawn by Ray Billingsley, and he did a comic strip, a newspaper comic strip, still does it to this day. It's called Curtis. Not spelled the same way, it's with a C, but it is a very funny strip. He's a very funny guy, and he worked in animation a little bit before. So that's kind of cool. Have fun wherever you're going. Thank you very much. We're just going to get away at one of the local islands here off the coast of Vancouver, and it is going to be a lot of fun. Still looking to get volume 5 of Poison Ivy. I don't know what that means. Is that does she have an ongoing series? Wow, just finished volume 2 of the Skybound Image Transformers. Great run. That is a thick, I mean, you're talking about like the compendiums, right? That's amazing that you got through both of those volumes. But I can tell from your avatar there that you are a big fan of changing robots, transforming robots. So there you go. It's great. Well, let's not waste any time. Let's open this up. Where did my knife go? I lost it. They put a little piece of tape on here. Now I have to figure out a way to get the tape off. Oh, actually, that wasn't so hard. The rest of the package, Indigo packages them up really nice, and also in a way that you can open them up fairly easily. We're talking about Iron Man today. Iron Man Epic Collection, Modern Era Epic Collection, Volume 5, The New Iron Age. There's the spine. This is more of the Matt Fraction run. His run went on for a long time, hey? Um, there's three, this is the third volume so far, and then there's one more to go that'll finish off this set, I believe. Or maybe it's two more. I better check because now double I'm double guessing myself. This book Let's see, what does it say on my handy dandy spreadsheet here? Uh, 3, 4, 5, and volume 6 is called The Future. Yeah, so this is the third volume out of 4 of Matt Fraction's run on Iron Man. And this has a different cover than what was in our announcements. We had this cover of like a big explosion or something, and Iron Man was kind of up in the top corner here, but they've changed it. And I like this one. This one works well. Works well with the black stripe around the side. I like the black light. Sorry, the backlighting with all of his little um, whatever these thingies are glowing. That's pretty cool. And there's a back cover. Kind of looks very shiny, doesn't he? This artwork is by Salvador Larroca, and I like his work. This is kind of a transformative time for him, though, because he kind of gets a he goes through a stylistic change when he tries to be a little bit more photorealistic, and this is kind of the era where he's starting to do that. So some of his work in here looks like it used to back in the late '90s or early 2000s, and then some of it starts to look a little bit different because he's starting to play around with some faces. This actually looks a lot more similar to his old stuff, so that's interesting. Um, would you recommend the Matt Fraction run from what you have read so far? Yes, I actually would. So here's the premise. The premise is there's a character who shows up. I'm not sure if I'm going to. Uh, I guess I'll spoil it a little bit. It is well, okay. A character shows up who is a character in the Ironheart Disney Plus TV show. Have you seen that one? If you've seen that one, this is his first appearances in this book here. Not Mephisto, but anyway, he's really, really angry at Tony Stark in a very Lex Luthor type of a way, and um, Tony Stark is the director of Shield at this time, and so he's got all of this knowledge about global security. And so what the villain wants to do is download all of that knowledge out of Tony Stark's brain. And so he comes up with this great plan. A lot of it stems from it follows up after the Extremis story from Iron Man, which is a few years before this. This kind of an extension of that. And then so Tony Stark decides that what he's going to do is delete his memory because that's what scientists can do. Um, so the first volume deals with Tony Stark kind of finding a way where he can rid himself of all of the security breach that is his brain, and then the next volume is kind of the fallout from that and him kind of with no intelligence kind of trying to build his way back up. And so I have no idea where we're going from here because this is called the new Iron Age. We're going to see what happens with Iron Man after his this new status quo change. And so it's I thought it was great, a very compelling story, a lot of high science fiction kind of concepts, and the artwork was fun too. Um, and then who knows how it's going to end? I have no idea where it goes from here. Obviously, he's still in the Iron Man suit and everything, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see. There we go. Why does he need that? The writers have already completely changed his identity and character. You know what? That's just the progress of comics. If you have a character that's 60 years old, each character has to go through the motions. And what Tom DeFalco always said was you can do whatever you want with the characters, you can change them as much as you want as long as you put them all back in the sandbox for the next creative team to play with. That looks like Electro there. And while in the modern era, sometimes they don't quite put them all back in the sandbox. They kind of they a lot of the times they see what sticks, and if a concept is popular, they'll just keep on going until people are tired of it. And so there we go. I'm pretty sure, based on what I saw at the end of the last volume, that Tony Stark is going to go back to the way he was. This is 2010 to 2011. So this is right when Iron Man 2 was coming out in theaters. to give a little bit of context there. So yes, Tony Stark was going in rather it was going through a change in personality and such because of Robert Downey Jr.'s portrayal in the movies. But I think that the comic is still it still reads well. Pepper Potts plays a big role, um, and Happy is nowhere to be seen. I was he in that? Yeah, I think he was there. I can't remember. Um, if he was, he didn't play a very big role, but Pepper sure did. So I don't know. Give it a try. See what you think. I don't recommend jumping into the second volume, which would be volume four, the one before this, without reading volume three, because the story definitely continues, and it's you'll be very confused. This one you could probably jump into no problem because it feels like there are two distinct halves to Matt Fraction's run. This being one of the halves, the start of the second half. Let's see. So this doesn't look like Salvador Larroca. Let me just check the artist here because oh yeah, Invincible Iron Man Annual Number One, Carmine Di Giandemencio. That's who this is. So yeah, that's why it didn't look like Salvador Larroca because it isn't Salvador Larroca. His stuff is way further on. This is Salvador Larroca right here. That's right. This looks exactly like what I saw in the previous volumes. I like the colorist in this. He does a good job of framing the action in the colors, even though some of these pages look very monochrome in style. It's for a purpose. Um, and yeah, and then it just does well so you can read all the action through all of the and not that the artwork is confusing or anything because Loroca, even though I don't really like the direction his art is heading, is still a good storyteller and still knows how to craft some really good action scenes. There, that looks like Doctor Octopus right there. There you go. Thor shows up for a little while. That's cool. That was during the Straczynski era, I think, of Thor. Yeah. So, if you've read the Matt Fraction run, do you recommend carrying through to this half of the story? Is it good? And oh yeah, now I'm starting to remember some of the plot points. Okay, let's see here. As a non-Iron Man reader, can you sell me this book? Um, as a non-Iron Man reader, can you sell me this book? Well, I mean, it depends on if you're a non-Iron Man reader because you don't like Iron Man, or are you a non-Iron Man reader just because you haven't gotten around to reading Iron Man? If you haven't, if you haven't gotten around to if you haven't gotten around to reading any Iron Man, then this is fine. I would recommend starting at volume three at the beginning of this run. Um, but it tells you everything you need to know right at the beginning there. It's it's kind of dumping into the middle of the story because it takes place right after he becomes the director of Shield, after Civil War, after all of that kind of stuff. And so there's a little bit of catching up you need to do. But if you have a general knowledge of the Marvel universe and its history, then you should be fine. If you want to read this, if you're not an Iron Man reader because you don't like Iron Man, I don't know what to tell you. This is an Iron Man book through and through, and it feels like it. And I don't know. Iron Man is in a particularly cocky and headstrong stage at this point because he thinks he can do everything and he's right and everybody's wrong. So if you don't like that aspect of Iron Man, then it probably is not up your alley. So there you go. Um, I don't know if that sell you the book or not. Yeah. Marvel needs to reprint Kurt Busiek's Heroes Return run. So, are you talking about Avengers? Kurt Busiek's Avengers? Because it was Dan Jurgens who did Iron Man's Heroes Return, unless Kurt Busiek went after that. Um, I've never read Iron Man before the movie. If you like the movie, did the Fraction run it for you? Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, especially yeah, I think the movie did a lot to influence the comics, but then this particular era of Iron Man did a lot to influence the movie as well. Music and Chen. Oh, Heroes Reborn? No, Heroes Return. Oh yeah, they started it, didn't they? They started Heroes Return. I'm thinking of Thor. That's what I'm thinking of. Dan Jurgens did Thor. Yeah, 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 yeah. But yes, you're right. They do need to do that. They did one thick trade of the Heroes Return Iron Man, and then they solicited a second volume, but I don't think it ever came out, did it? Pretty sure it didn't come out. So that would be good. However, Iron Man is still a little far behind collecting through the 70s. So I would like them, the 70s and 80s, I'd like them to get on with that a little bit more before jumping even further ahead into the future with the classic line. Iron Man still needs volume 8 and 9 and 12. Actually, we're doing better than I thought. Just three more volumes. So if they do one of those classic volumes a year for the next 3 years, and then the second Iron Man volume in the year is the Heroes Return stuff, then that actually would be fine. Wow, closer than I thought. That's amazing. Um, I have not read this run, but I will have to check it out. Ignoring the teen Tony from the Crossing. Yeah, that's right. That was the low point of Iron Man, I think, is that little tail end right before Heroes Return. It's kind of one of the reasons why Iron Man was lumped in with all of those characters that they were offshooting to Image at the time. What's up, Curtis? Hope you're well. I'm a little surprised that the Dan Jurgens Thor epic isn't a modern era, but I guess that was just before modern times. Yeah, I mean, all of these years, the past decade, we've all been saying because the evidence has shown that the modern era stops around Heroes Reborn because had been no volumes after that, and then um, and then the new modern era epics started, and a lot of them started well after Heroes Return. So, like Thor, for instance, starts with the Michael Straczynski's era, and then this one is probably going to start with Extremis. And I think the way to think about it is not by year, but it's when did the storytelling shift in each of these books? And for Daredevil, it was early. It was 1998 in Marvel Knights when they started doing longer arcs and more cinematic storytelling, that kind of thing. You know, the whole decompressed storytelling. And so I think we need to look at all of the books individually to see when that era starts. So for Iron Man, and for all of those Heroes Return titles, Heroes Return was specifically, they were trying to be classic. When they returned those heroes, they were trying to do the one-off or the two-issue stories that harken back to the older era of Marvel. Whether they accomplish that is a different story, but at least that's what they were trying to do. So in that sense, because they were trying to be classic, they are still classic. Um, it wasn't until much later when they started doing more of that decompressed storytelling after like the rise of the Ultimate Universe and all that kind of thing. Okay, let's see some more comments here. The Crossing is awesome, says Mr. Tex. I haven't gotten around to reading that Iron Man epic yet. I should do that. Maybe I'll take it on my vacation. Or maybe I want to enjoy my vacation and I shouldn't take that book. A reprint of War Games would be nice. That would be nice. And especially because that's the only one not available digitally for whatever reason. So it is absolutely not available. Um, that was one of the earliest Epic collections. Was that War Games volume? Collects all of John Byrne's Iron Man in one volume. Makes sense with me. Thor Volume 2 ends with Ragnarok. Volume 3 is a new beginning. Yeah, actually, it's a literal rebirth. So yes, and that's when a lot of things changed because they brought in a TV and movie writer to to be the writer of that book. Same with Spider-Man. That's when the modern era of Spider-Man starts, is when J. Michael Straczynski comes and takes over. Never forgave the Crossing for fridging female Yellow Jacket, who was great in the Guardians of the Galaxy title at the time. Oh, that's interesting. I did not know she was there. You fool me. You know what? I haven't given The Crossing a fair shake because I haven't read it. I just know its reputation, so I'm just poking fun. So I need to know. Yeah. Would Busick and Perez Avengers be considered modern? Saturday Morning Fan says no, it's not. 2000s is retro now. I mean, that is 25 years ago. Um, for our purposes, it's not considered. Uh, um, well, actually, I can't say for sure because New Avengers is not the same as Avengers. So when Avengers Volume One, Modern Era Volume One starts, will they start with that era with Heroes Return? Or will they skip ahead to the Brian Michael Bendis Avengers era that ran alongside New Avengers? Because that was an interesting time because of Civil War. There were two Avengers titles, one with the registered heroes, and then one with the fugitive heroes. And New Avengers is the fugitive heroes. And so, where does it go? Um, that might be the start of Avengers modern era. Would be that stuff. I'm gonna guess. Any chance at a review in the future for Avengers Judgment Day? Sure, yeah, absolutely. When I'm back from my vacation, I will do a review for that one just for you, Saturday Morning Fan. Um, I'll tell you right now that that's a fantastic volume, one of the best ones. It's so good, and it pairs really well with Under Siege. Both of those together for a two-volume set, really, really good. But I'll go into more detail um, in the next live stream. If I had my bookshelf right behind me, I'd pull it off and talk about it now, but we're not going to do that. Okay, so let me see here. One of the things that I wanted to mention, and somebody also mentioned it up here already, DC Finest Joker. We just found that cover art thanks to one of the guys on the Facebook group or the DC Finest group. His name is Philip. He has this massive spreadsheet with a really intricate algorithm and that automatically checks all of the possible URL combinations that Penguin Random House uses for their images because all of their image file names are just the ISBN numbers. And so it's easy to predict. So he just populates this spreadsheet with all of the possible ISBN numbers. And then eventually something will ping and it's like, oh, they uploaded a file with that file name. And so he grabs it and looks at it. And there you go. It's the DC Finest Joker cover. And then shortly after that, the whole web page went live. Sorry, the whole page for that particular item went live, and it's collecting a whole bunch of stuff. Batman issues from I think it's from the 70s, along with a Joker series that ran for about 10 issues. And um and, and yeah, I don't really know anything about this, but back then, back in the 70s, it wasn't really common practice to give a villain an ongoing series. So I'm assuming it's going to be a bunch of guest appearances when he is the villain in Batman stories or whatever. Um, most of it probably will be double dipped. Now, the interesting thing about DC Finest is that there's so many volumes of Batman that are going to come out. I think somebody was mapping Batman from the gold from just Crisis to New 52, and it was like 40 volumes just for that. And there's probably another 40 volumes from the Golden Age all the way to Crisis. So if there's that many volumes, the chances of double dipping with the stuff that's coming out in Joker, the DC Finest Joker, could actually be pretty slim for a long time. They could dance around all of that content for years to come and never have to touch it. So might be worth picking up anyway. Has Don Heck's run on Iron Man been collected in epic format? Yes, it has. That is the earliest Iron Man stuff. Um, Let me see here, because he was one of the original artists on Iron Man. So we're talking like the first three volumes, I believe, first three volumes of Iron Man classic era epic collections. You can find that in there. I was just reading Wonder Woman, the DC Finest Wonder Woman volume that just came out, which has some Don Heck artwork from the 80s. And that guy never lost it. He was very consistent throughout the years. And his work in the 80s looks Looks very, very similar to the stuff he was doing in the 60s. He kept a very consistent style. Inking styles has changed a lot, and that changed some of the way that it looked, but still, it looked and read really well. It was a good volume. Let's see here. Look at all these comments. I lost my spot. Yes, there is a DC Finest Western volume coming out. Now, Western comics for me are hit or miss. Some of them are good. Some of them can be a chore to read. I haven't read any of the DC stuff really, but I really like Doug Wildey's Rio. Have you read that? It was um, published by Eclipse Comics in the 80s. Doug Wildey being a great artist who worked for Hanna-Barbera on a lot of their character designs and such, really big influence on uh, with his work for Johnny Quest, that kind of thing. And he did this Western story, which is really, really beautiful. Absolutely beautiful artwork. I think, and Marvel published a standalone graphic novel, and maybe DC did too. Kind of hopped around because it was a creator-owned property, but I really like that one. I haven't read a whole lot. Marvel, I wish Marvel would do an epic of Rawhide Kid, Kid Colt, and Two Gun Kid also. I would agree with that too. Again, depending on who the writer and artist, um, I'm not exactly sure that I would be so into full collections of those because some of them are not great from what I've read, at least. But really, it would be great if they were all collected, whether you like it or not, because a lot of people will like it. And it would be great to have a chance to get those collections. Thinking Marvel needs to do a Dazzler Epic collection. They have an Omni and Masterworks, but no Epics to my knowledge. You're correct in that. No Dazzler Epics yet, but now that all of that content has gone through the Masterworks program, it could happen. I think that once we see some of these Epic lines conclude, which some are very close to doing, I think we will see some other new lines pop up. They we um they give us about 4 new epic lines every year, it seems, not including the modern era. I'm just talking about the classic era. Last year, it was kind of a drag because it was all the Ultimate books. While I love those books, I didn't really need them in the epic collections quite yet, but it is what it is. They sell well, so there you go. Dr. Fu Manchu, Dracula, Beagle Boys, and Phantom Blot had titles. Um, okay, you're telling me that the villains didn't usually get titles. You're right. I think I was just talking about the standard superheroes book because yes, Beagle Boys even had a couple of different titles. They had, I think there was one just called Beagle Boys, and there was one called Uncle Scrooge versus the Beagle Boys. Um, you're right. If you want to go that way, then sure, there's probably a bunch of villain comics, but Don draws really pretty faces. You're right. He is great at drawing that classic, classy 1906, um, female look with big hair and high heels and whatnot. Much like Kurt Swan, whose art was also consistent. Yes, Kurt Swan is another guy who, like, if you weren't paying attention, you wouldn't know what era you were reading because his stuff always looked great. Rio is a golden standard western. Yeah, I would. That's it's top of the line for sure. Let's see. Did you ever read the Gru crossover book Gru Meets Tarzan and Gru Meets Conan? I have never read those. Um, I do like Gru. I've read a lot of Gru, but I have not read those crossovers. Tarzan one is pretty recent, right? That one was that an IDW one or was that I think that was Dark Horse. I'm praying somebody will reprint Blueberry by Mobius. That is another Western that I actually really like as well. That one is really great. I have a few of those volumes from back when Marvel was publishing that those translations under their Epic line, Epic reprint, Epic imprint, Epic Comics back in the 80s. So expensive, but westerns don't seem to sell for some reason, so no one's really willing to pick it up. I would have loved to see it as part of like the Mobius library that Dark Horse was doing for a while. That I don't know if they're continuing it because it's been a while since they've had a volume. I wish someone would reprint Wildly's Johnny Quest comics he did for Kamiko in the 80s. Yeah, that'd be great. I actually just found I've been trying to put together a whole run of those books, and I found a few issues I was missing just recently. I'm only missing one issue, and that is the one issue, I think it's issue 4 or 5, that is the cover is drawn by Dave Stevens. And because it's drawn by Dave Stevens, everybody's charging like $100 for it, and I don't want to pay that much for the comic. It would make most sense if Dark Horse or Humanoids got Blueberry back in print, which they should absolutely. Also, everybody give Dana a round of applause because she got nominated for an Eisner, and while didn't win, still an Oscar nomination is pretty darn awesome. Um, would we ever get the Team America and Human Fly Ghost Rider crossovers? They're missing from the Ghost Rider epics and omnis. Yeah, because it didn't actually happen in the Ghost Rider series itself, right? It was when Ghost Rider appeared in one of those issues. Will we get it? Team America is one of those notoriously bad comics that people just always make fun of. So, will we get a collection of it? I don't think it's very likely. Human Fly, I believe there's a licensing issue with that. Um, I can't remember if that is true or not, but I'm pretty sure I heard that there's a licensing issue with a character called the Fly. Whether it's this one or a different one, I don't know. But there you go. Yep. I just finished the Marvel art of Michael Turner. He did so much in such little time. Um, that is a great book. Yeah, that's a book that the publisher that I work for, Clover Press, published. We've got the license to do a series of Marvel books, and this was the fifth one, I think. We worked with Aspen Comics and Marvel to get it out. Let me tell you, the the amount of approvals, the approval process to like go through Aspen and Marvel to get everything approved, it was ridiculous, but it was still a fun project. The guys at Aspen are actually super, super nice. They're really good guys. And yeah, that book is neat because I believe it collects every cover, every piece of art that Michael Turner ever did for Marvel, all in one book. And not just that, but it's got um like there wasn't much. He didn't work there for very long before he passed away. But um this book puts together the finished colored work as well as the pencil art, and there's a lot of pencil art in there, and Michael Turner's pencils are just incredible because he was so intricate and so detailed and so precise, and um and that is and you can see it all on full display, and these books are oversized and very, very, very cool. Okay, let's see here. Who owns Kamiko now? I'd love to see Elemental reprinted. I don't think that it's a matter of ownership because that was a creator-owned uh, company. So all of those books, including Elementals, I think are owned by the creators of those properties, not by an entity, a comic book entity. Who's IDW is making new Human Fly comics? Really? Why? Yeah, great question. They think it'll sell? Not sure. Everybody is IDW loves their licensed properties, so I guess maybe they think that there will be a built-in fan base there, but I really have no idea. The only DC Western stuff I've read from the 70s is Jonah Hex, which is excellent, but I bet that gets its own finest line. I would think so too. Jonah Hex is a shoe-in for his own line, and that's primarily because um, that's a character that's crossed over to the wider DC universe, right? Some of these other Western characters haven't really had any other life beyond their short-lived Western titles. Are there any plans at the moment for Marvel, at any plans at Marvel for an Alpha Flight epic? I am sure there are plans. I bet you anything they've said that would be a great idea to do that at some point, but we don't know when they're gonna put that on the schedule. Um, Human Fly, written by all these people that I have not heard of before. Uh, doesn't mean it's bad, just means I have no idea what it would be like going into it. I'm looking forward to the Hawkman Wings Across Time DC Finest coming out on August 19th. I've never read the Silver Age Hawkman and have been wanting to for a long time. I think that that is my top pick for the DC Finest that are coming out in August. I'm really looking forward to that one too. I really like the work of Joe Kubert, and he is one of the primary artists on that book, I believe, in that era. So that should be excellent. Um, if you've never read Joe Kubert's Facts from Sarajevo, I highly recommend it. I read that one last summer, and it is so good. Very personal tale of stuff that he himself was experiencing during the whole war in Sarajevo at the time. And it looks like it's based on Marvel version to boot. Okay, yeah. Why are we talking about the human fly? That's so strange. Um, Alpha Flight Omnibus Volume 2 was on final order cutoff today. There you go. So, I don't know how far that gets us into the series, probably like 60 issues in or something, right? 60 or 70 issues in. That's definitely enough to start Alpha Flight now that they've gotten the Omnis out of the way, and looks like they won't start that in. They didn't start that in Masterworks yet, did they? I don't think so. But it's a perfect amount. Yeah, it goes to 70. Right, exactly. So that will give us um 4 volumes of epics before they have to issue a new omnibus to catch up, or to keep ahead. And if they do one a year, then that's a perfect schedule. I think that Alpha Flight would be a shoe-in for us to see in the second half of 2026. That's my. I don't know if I'd put money on that, but if we were to get a new line in 2026, I think there's a good chance of that. They're also pumping the Spectacular Spider-Man and Web of Spider-Man stuff through the omnibus program right now. So now that those ones are kind of past a lot of their selling windows, we might see that come to soft cover as well. While we're talking about Human Fly, we're talking about Human Fly because no one remembers Evil Knievel. You know who my favorite was? Super Dave. Super Dave Osborne. That's who I saw on TV as a kid. Um, on I don't know, it was if it always followed something I was watching in the afternoon after school. It was probably like Animaniacs or something like that. But yeah, Marvel did an Evil Knievel comic also. What? I didn't know that. Was it just a one-off, a graphic novel, or was it an ongoing series or a mini series? I had no idea that that was a thing. Yes, Super Dave was great. Such a funny guy. That, that brings me back to my childhood. Someone was asking about El Diablo as a DC character. Yes, yes, it was a DC character. Um, these comics are coming too fast. Quasar, has Quasar had an epic yet? No. You can have, um, there's a few issues. You can find a few issues of Quasar in the Operation Galactic Storm Avengers volume, but that might be it. Not much Quasar reprinted yet. If we ever get Quasar in a movie, that would be the next one to, or if he takes prominent center stage in the next big Marvel cosmic epic, then or the cosmic story in modern comics, then maybe we'll see a Quasar comic. But I don't think that it's high on Marvel's priority list, unfortunately. Wow, haven't heard of Super Dave Osborne since I was a little kid. Holy smokes! It was a one shot. Okay, I'm gonna have to look that up. The Evil Knievel Marvel one shot. Wow. Super Dave had both a live action and animated show. Yes, I watched the animated show all the time, and the live action one was one that I kind of only watched because it appeared after whatever show I was watching at the time. Um, both were funny. Both were pretty good. Is that guy still alive? I have no idea if he's still around or not. Dave Osborne. Wasn't the female Quasar as a kid in Guardians of the Galaxy at the end? Yes, Phyla, right? That was her name. I believe that she was one of the kids that they rescued and brought on as part of the team. Will she be in Guardians of the Galaxy 4? Will there be a Guardians of the Galaxy 4? All unknown at this time, so we'll have to see. Unfortunately, he has passed. Rest in peace. Yeah. Well, all of those crazy stunts he was doing probably caught up to him in the end. I bet we'd see new epic lines as they finish the licensed stuff like ROM and Micronauts. They'll probably slip in Godzilla. That'll free up some spots. Yeah, that Godzilla would just be hopefully a one and done. Um, if they really don't like us, they'll split it into two small volumes. Actually, you know what? I would like it because Godzilla, the story ended, but there were some threads that were left behind. And the bad guy, I think his name is Dr. Demonicus, shows up in Iron Man during the Denny O'Neil run. And a creature that kind of looks like Godzilla shows up in those volumes as well. And um and I would like those two issues plus he showed up in an issue of the Godzilla, the pseudo Godzilla also showed up in an issue of The Thing during the John Byrne series. I would like those issues to be put into that as well. Also, Red Ronin, this giant robot character, is from the Godzilla series, and that character shows up in a few issues of Avengers. And so, if they could put all of those into the like at the very end of a Godzilla epic collection, they could stretch it out to have two volumes. They'd be a little on the thin side, but at least they would have kind of the full story. That would be really good. Godzilla made a cameo in the Bendis era Avengers also. And Demonicus also shows up in the West Coast Avengers. Yeah, that's right. Um, but not Godzilla related in that sense. I don't think that they would need to include those issues in there, but yeah. Any idea when the next announcements for epics are? Didn't we literally just have you're being silly, aren't you? Because we just talked about new epic collection announcements like 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. Um, there was a kaiju in Thunderbolts. Wonder if it's the same one. Maybe. You'll have to see if it looks the same. It had pretty distinctive scale pattern on its back, I think. I would like to see some of the B characters get epics, such as Deathlock or Spider Woman. Yeah, I agree. Um, Marvel's in a weird time right now, and we all know this. We can see it. We can see it happening because they canceled Marvel Masterworks and they are raising prices. Like I think they're trying to figure out what they need to do in this current climate of book publishing. So I'm gonna guess that the same characters like Deathlock, especially Deathlock, like way down on their priority list because they just they're looking at what's going to make them money at this time. So I think we have to be patient for them to figure themselves out and realize that those books with some of those lesser characters will do just fine, but they need to figure that on their own. And they're not. I don't know that we're going to see that in the next couple of years. Deathlock would make a great video game. You're right about that. That would be pretty cool. Team America had follow-ups in Captain America and New Mutants also. Yeah, and they could totally how that title didn't last for very long, so all of that stuff could be in one volume, one standalone volume, and it would be fine. Still waiting for epic lines of Werewolf by Night, Man Thing, Kazar, Tomb of Dracula, but enjoying what I have read also. So I've heard from study on the inside that there was a Kazar um, epic collection in the works, but then they decided to shelve it in favor of something else. I'm not sure, but yeah, yeah. We have heard though that from David Gabriel that when books like Werewolf by Night and Tomb of Dracula, when they are ready to put those back into soft cover, they're going to reskin the complete collections as epic collections. So hopefully that will come sometime soon. Um, yeah. Have you seen those DC Finest additions to the Penguin Random House catalog? Yeah, we were talking about some of those a little earlier. Um, Not a huge fan of the early age of Wonder Woman, so that second volume is not my speed, but I'm really looking forward to um, the new Batman one that was announced, Death in the Family, because I really like that story and that whole era of Batman I actually really like a lot. So there you go. Yeah. Oh yeah, and hopefully add Tomb of Dracula Volume 6, the one that they decided to cancel. But you know what? At least the full series, the full original series was there, and put that follow-up Tomb of Dracula story in the Blade Epic Collection. So I think we've got all of the kind of the most important stuff in there. Howard the Duck not having epics yet is odd also. So the reason for that is because instead of giving him epics, they gave him complete collections. They did the whole series in 4 Howard the Duck complete collections, and I'm assuming that, if when they are ready to reprint those, they will become epics, but that's another character that I think they're probably not in that big of a hurry to reprint. I want the question in DC Finest. Yeah, so do I. I think that would be great. I got Werewolf by Night and Marvel Masterworks. Mike Plug is one of my favorites. Yeah, he's so good. Yeah, those early issues of Werewolf especially are amazing. Um, yeah, now that that series and Tomb of Dracula have gone through the Masterworks program, I think we could get some nice epic collection volumes. That would be good. And the Howard the Duck newspaper strip by Gerber really needs a release. I will totally agree with that. You know, we tried doing that when I was working with the Library of American Comics, and we were printing the Spider-Man newspaper comic strip. We did 5 volumes of that. We inquired about Hulk and Howard the Duck, but um, and Marvel was agreeable. The only thing was that we couldn't find good enough source material for that as well. Marvel doesn't have copies of it in their archives, and we couldn't find a good collector that had like everything in really nice tear sheets, like, torn from the newspaper and that kind of thing. Do you own any DC compendiums? I own one. It is Sweet Tooth. I have the Sweet Tooth DC compendium, and I read it. And while and the series is great, I love the series. Reading it as a compendium was not that great because of the huge gutter loss. Those books are so thick that, especially when you're in the middle there, um, it's very. Some of the words got lost. Some of the actual word balloons got lost in the gutter. So I wasn't too much of a fan of that. I've been thinking of getting DC Finest Supergirl, The Girl of Steel. Has anyone read it? I've read it, and I can say that if you like the Silver Age, you'll probably like this. I am hot and cold with the Silver Age. Some of the stuff I like, some of the stuff I don't. And that book in particular, found so repetitive, and it wasn't one of my favorites of this era. Um, yeah. Is there a third volume to Spider-Man Deadpool Modern Era Epic Collection? There is. It's not out yet. Let me check my schedule for you. Spider-Man Deadpool. It's coming out in September, next month. Almost next month, a month and a half. It's coming out at the end of August. So get ready for that. What else? Let me see here. By the way, the Epic Collection that's coming out. Oh, here's something worth noting. This Epic Collection right here, Iron Man Modern Era Epic Collection, Volume 5, The New Iron Age, is Epic number 450. We have reached the 450th Epic Collection. That's pretty amazing. Number 500 will come in early to 2026 or mid 2026. But the fact that we have 450 of these in what has it been, like 12 or 13 years now, just incredible. So good job to Marvel for cranking these out, making their back catalog available, even if a lot of it's not actually available right now because it's out of print. But the fact that they have gone through this consistently over this amount of time, pretty incredible. I don't know that you can find a whole lot of publishers, or maybe any other publishers, that can say, we have one line, one overarching brand that has 450 volumes in it. I know things like, there's the Hachette stuff, maybe 2000 AD, um, all of that, like all of those books where the spines all run together, those ones. And there are some manga volumes that I think they probably don't get up to 450, but there's some really long running manga as well. But this is still a pretty good feat. That's amazing. Okay, I'm gonna cap us off right here and wrap it up because I've got a few things to do before I have to think about dinner. And yeah, so next week there will be no live stream because I will be on vacation, and I'll be taking a few Epic collections with me to read on my break, and I'll give you a full report on those books when I come back. So thanks everybody for watching. I hope that everybody has a great week. Enjoy the sun, enjoy the summer, and I didn't even talk about Fantastic Four, so you'll have to remind me to bring that up because I've got a lot of actually tune in tomorrow evening to a YouTube channel called Comic Binge. Okay, look up Comic Binge on YouTube because I am going to be on that tomorrow night at around 8 o'clock Pacific to talk about my thoughts on the Fantastic Four movie. So you can tune into that, and we'll all have a great time. If I see you in the chat, I'll make sure I say hi. Great. Thanks everybody for hanging out with me for this past hour. It's been a lot of fun.